TMNT time! Well, actually, not quite. You've been asking me about it, you've been demanding it, I've been thinking about it, and it's finally time for the first ever TMNT Toy Throwback Special Edition. Now what does that mean? Well, in the world of TMNT there are a lot of characters. And there's a lot of different versions of TMNT. Movies, TV shows, comics. And some of these characters keep popping up in different ways. And then they're making figures about it, and then I collect them, and then I do videos about it. That being said, arguably one of the most important characters in the TMNT franchise is none other than your girl, AprilO'Neil. Also, I've been asking myself, what do I want to upload for the month of April? Well, April. But let's not waste any more time. Let's have a look at the AprilO'Neil originals. Enough. Enough. And we're gonna start it off right with the very first AprilO'Neil. Not the first toy, not the first appearance of the cartoon show, no. Comic books, NECA, 2009 TMNT line, AprilO'Neil. That's what we're talking about here. It's not very often that I have NECA figures on TMNT Toy Throwback because NECA hasn't done a lot of Turtles, but the ones they did do are quite frankly fantastic, and this AprilO'Neil is no difference. The likeness has been taken straight out of the comic book. They did not experiment with anything around with it. I'm gonna put up a picture right now to give you an overall look of just how this figure looks exactly as she should. The figure has an amazing comic style look, especially with the black thick lines going all over her outfit. As far as accessory goes, she did come with two mousers, which I do not have at hand right now, so I'm just gonna give you the picture on the side of it. As far as articulation goes, since this is NECA, it is a little bit better than your regular Playmates. The head is on a ball joint, has some wiggle motion back and forth, and rotates all the way around. You have a hinge that you can rotate around in the shoulder. Simple hinge in the elbow. You can also rotate at the elbow. Swivel in the hand. We also have a swivel in the chest, which totally breaks up the sculpt, but if you want to use it, you can. Another hinge that you can rotate around in the leg. However, it is in an angle, so it's kind of hard to pose it properly. You got another simple hinge in the knee. At the end of the leg, you also have a swivel and another hinge for the foot. Surprisingly, NECA would be the only ones to ever release a comic book accurate AprilO'Neil. So every other version we're gonna look at today has its own unique style, as every new TV show really tried to bring their own spin to the character. Which brings us to the yellow jumpsuit wearing character most of us remember. Based on the design of the original cartoon show, these Aprils still retained the jumpsuits, but traded the blue for a bright yellow. Also, April changed from being a scientist to becoming a reporter, so get ready for a lot of microphones with these gals. For the first time in TMNT Toy Throwback, we actually have a figure itself that has a bit of a complicated history. What I mean by that is that you're currently looking at the original 1988 AprilO'Neil, which had two versions. One with the yellow jumpsuit, without the blue line, and I do believe without the Turtles logo in the back, and the one you're looking at right now. The likeness of the figure compared to the TV show version was actually not that bad, especially with some added detail to make it look nicer. You can't say the same though for the face sculpt. Hence why in 1990 we got a re-release. Still rocking the exact same body and accessories, the main thing about this April is that the face sculpt actually looked a lot more TV accurate. The only questionable thing about this is that they added orange, which was not accurate. But the confusion doesn't stop there. This April also had two versions. The only difference this time around though was the press logo that was not on all Aprils. As far as articulation goes, it's swivels. Swivels everywhere. Hat, shoulder, elbow, and legs. Always going around in an angle. Now there would be one final version of this mold in particular, which you could only get with the Channel 6 News Fan. The News Fan has become a collector's item as such. I don't have it, and I never got the figure because it is the exact same mold with a weird green repaint. I don't know, I guess turtles are green and whatever. So we already have 2 Aprils. Well, technically 4, but that didn't stop Playmates from making another one. 1992 brought us a figure that was just called April. No subtitles, no last name, just April. However, this time around we got a completely new body mold, a new head sculpt, and tons of new accessories. Instead of orange, they added a whole lot of purple to her outfit, which once again made her look less accurate to the TV show. On the flip side though, it turned out to be a better figure as it's a lot more colorful and has more detail on it. Speaking of which, the level of detail for this kid's toy is surprisingly deep. Just looking at the mold with the seams going down here, the nicely painted zipper and all the purple as a paint app on it really makes it look a lot better than you would expect. Gone is the turtle logo, but we have a watch now, even painted fingernails, and all the little pouches, knee pads, belts, and whatever you can think of. The face sculpt has once again been redesigned to still look somewhat TV accurate, but honestly, I think they kinda nail it with this one, except for the crazy eyes. But my favorite part by far of this AprilO'Neil are the accessories, as she comes once again with a gun. All of them had one, but even better, she has belts and holsters for it, so you can have your April displayed with really everything. Unfortunately though, she does not hold her microphone, but you might be saying, hey, I saw her hold the microphone at the beginning of the review. Yes, that's because I glued it on and I actually forgot about that. The articulation hasn't changed much, as it still swivels everywhere. Only difference now, the way she's molded, she will always have her arm in a position that will always go in an angle and just kind of always outside, like on this side, and the legs are still swiveling around in an angle. The 1988 line had a lot of love for AprilO'Neil, giving us new versions basically every couple of years. And we only looked at the regular ones. There's a lot more to cover, but that's for another time. We're gonna move on and have a look at what other transformations AprilO'Neil has gone through in the show and what kind of figures that has brought us. Enter Redhead April. The 2003 show got rid of the yellow jumpsuit altogether for a lot more of a casual look, white cargo pants and a nice purple top, and of course the red hair. What they didn't change this time around was the origin story, as the 2003 cartoon was a lot closer to the comics than anything else we had before in the TV show. So she did go back to being a scientist. Well, no, let me correct that. I kept saying scientist, but she's basically just Baxter Stockman's lab assistant. At the end of the day, she still does science work, but I just wanted to clarify that. Surprisingly, this April actually looks exactly as she did in the show, because if you're paying attention, Playmates does not have the greatest track record of making show-accurate figures. Now, I remember a lot of people not really liking this design because we all grew up on the yellow jumpsuit and suddenly we got this. Which, quite frankly, I don't mind. I like the overall look of the figure even though the outfit is a bit bland. While there's not really much going on design-wise with this figure, I really love the head sculpt, and it's probably one of the more detailed ones I've ever seen on any TMNT figure. The mold has some very nice detail in the face itself, but also the hair has some strains going down here and there. And finally, the paint job is surprisingly clean for a kid's toy. What's not planned, on the other hand, are the accessories, because she did come with 2 fully articulated Mausers. Well, fully articulated, you have a swivel in the legs, and you can open the mouth with a snapback feature, and those guys look really cool. Come to think of it, in later lines we get Mausers, but they're not really an accessory with a character, so that's a nice extra going on with it. Also, the head's on a swivel, forgot to mention that, and we have a crowbar, and she also has a laptop. Now, the thing that didn't change is that Playmates loves their swivels on AprilO'Neil, because that's all the articulation here. The head, the shoulder, nothing going on in the elbow, the torso, and the legs all just rotate around on swivels, which once again brings the legs to the problem of not really being posable, because the only way you get it straight is like that. If you want to move it around, it's gonna be in an angle and it's not gonna be good. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anything else to show you as far as 2003 Turtles goes, because this is the only AprilO'Neil figure we got out of that show. So April was once again reinvented in the year 2003 to fit the more serious style of the show, and moving away from the 1980s reporter gimmick back to her roots. But the show wouldn't stop there, as we're gonna have a look at the final incarnation of AprilO'Neil. And finally, the year 2012 brought us Teen AprilO'Neil. At the time of this recording, this is the last version. Yes, another one is on the horizon, but guys, if you're watching this in the future, it's April 2018. The new show is not out yet. And once again, this redesign brought up a lot of mixed reactions. But quite frankly, to me it made sense. The turtles are teenage mutant ninja turtles, the important thing being teenage. So why not just go ahead and make April a teenager, so she is more in line with the guys. And also, it is a lot less creepy, especially with Donatello having a crush on her in this show. Now, other than being a teenager, the other thing that people were turned off by is that she has a lot more of a tomboy look this time around. No jumpsuit, no cargo pants, but hey, at least you got the yellow back. Also rocking a lot more of an orange tone in her hairstyle, which is funny to me. Went from brown to red and now orange. And in 2017, Playmates is a repaint, just really exact same figure, but Playmates decided since the line was ending and a new line was coming, they would crap out all the old stuff and just give it a shiny new paint job. Now, even though this is a figure exclusive repaint, as she never wore anything like this in the show, which is funny because she did actually have a bit of a different look in later seasons of the show. They didn't win with that, they just recycled the old one. For the original one, the colors are a lot more muted. We have the yellow, but it's kind of like a washed yellow. You have the yellow 5, and up here it pops a lot more, it's a lot more shiny, and I would have liked this to be more white. And she does have a brunette hairstyle again, but the face looks exactly the same. Now for the accessories, since I recently just bought this repainted version, I still have it all nice collected in here. And it's a cool idea to give April some training weapons, because in the show she's actually training to be a martial artist. So you got like a wooden sword, candlestick, tonfas, and well, the ninja stars are not really training weapons, and you also have a bow staff. As far as articulation goes, this is a definite step up, because we finally have the hat on a ball joint with a little bit of wiggle motion, hinges that you can rotate around in the shoulders, swivel in the forearm. The torso still has a swivel, which is surprising because the way of how it's molded, I didn't expect it at first, but it is a little bit soft at the end here, so it doesn't get into the way, and you get a pretty decent conversion overall. And the leg with another hinge, which you can rotate around. So he had a little bit more posability for this April. The 2012 version of AprilO'Neil had one more special figure, which once again, I'm gonna keep for another time. Because for this video, I really just wanted to focus on the originals for each show and the comic books. So you have a nice overlook of all the different Aprils. In conclusion, there's a wide variety of AprilO'Neils. She went through a lot of transformations and just had to adapt to different times. And sometimes I feel like the fan service was a lot stronger than other times. In the same way, certain lines had a lot more love for April than other ones. But at the end of the day, I feel like she really is more of a complex character that, if you want to ask me, has evolved the most over the years. So here's to AprilO'Neil, and hopefully a lot more incarnations in the next couple of years. Now I know there exist more variations of April in toy form, but I'm gonna keep that for another time. I only wanted to have a look at the originals. 3 cartoon shows, 1 comic book. And that's gonna do it as usual. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoy TMNT Toy Throwback, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more figure videos, gameplay stuff, and TMNT Toy Throwback!